Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Board of Health meeting for Wednesday, 12th, 2026. Just a reminder, we are recording this meeting. Roll call, please.
Tom Pickner here.
There's Bill Moore here.
Colleen Tritoni here.
Jack McCall here. Karen Greenberg here. James all here. Good welfare for the public. Anyone in the audience or the audience at home that has any.
We have nobody in the audience and nobody online with us this evening.
Moving right along, new business. Subscriber curbside trash program discussion.
Mr. Chairman, we have Mike Sexton from EL Harvey. Mike, if you could take the front, please.
Come on up.
Come on down.
Always good to see you.
Always nice to get invited.
I'll let Tom, like, and Victor start the conversation.
Well, the impetus for behind putting it on the agenda for tonight, one of the reasons was to kind of talk about the follow-up from our senior discount program. We just implemented that last year. So to get an idea of how things went, now we're a year after we made that one change, we got to the count. And just to get an idea how things went from that perspective. But then in general, and I know we've kind of talked about this before, but in addition to talking through the senior discount, how that may or may not, how we may or may not feel is impacting the non-senior side of things. Whether or not there's any, basis sort of talk through potential options for the program as it's currently structured. We use the idea of possibly doing a bag, okay, to throw to everything, which I know we've talked about before.
Yep.
So things like that, yeah.
You always start on good numbers.
If you like, I'm not thinking that's something I'm gonna throw out before you do that, but. Cookie Monster.
That's a good one. I like that.
Nice touch.
Yeah, I like that.
Got the trash can on there.
There, isn't it Oscar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so the fiscal year, we're in fiscal year 2027, so we're on our first year contract with EL Harvey. Next year, for fiscal year 2028, we'll be on our second and final contract extension. Amended from the town census results, our population is 6,291. Residents that are younger than 65 years old makes up 78.6% of the population. Residents 65 and older make up 21.4% of the population.
That's present.
That is present. Then in households presently, we have 2,299. Out of those, we have 1,317 at the standard rate trash and 611 at the senior rate trash, totaling 1,928 trash accounts.
All right, so that's just under 30%. All right. Yeah. 20 some, I think 611 into 19.
And that's like, looking at that, it almost seems like it's almost half.
Yeah.
Or that's a standard rate, but yet the previous chart. So it's
21%.
2/3.
Yeah, I see, yeah.
It seemed like 2/3 were actually not senior. That seems to show a little different picture.
This is the trash rates right now. We have 1,317 standard rates for trash accounts.
Yeah, I think the confusion is that was residents in town.
Okay.
Now we're talking subscribers.
Ah.
That's why the numbers.
Big.
That's why the numbers have
Okay.
changed.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So that doesn't necessarily reflect participants in the program.
No,
For some households.
This does.
Private,
Service, got it.
right,
Thank
like
you.
dumpsters.
Okay, yep.
All right, so for the senior track discount history, I'm unfamiliar with the start date of the senior track discount. In March of 2002, the Board of Health immediately changed the senior discount age from 70 to age 65. In May of 2014, at a Board of Health meeting, all seniors must apply every year to receive the discount instead of a one-time application. August 2014, at a Board of Health meeting, they removed from the senior discount application the requirement of limiting the household to 2. On January 2023, senior discount application gets inserted with the annual town census to all residents of Mendon instead of an online PDF from the Board of Health website. And the census has to be mailed out every year in January by Mass General Law, Chapter 51, Section 4. That's was information from Ellen. But May 2025, Board of Health inserts a letter and survey about the senior discount program with the first half fiscal year 26 trash bills. In November of 2025, Board of Health meeting added to the senior discount application the requirement of limiting the household to a maximum of 4. If you call these are the senior discount survey results from that survey. The only question that we really affected would be question number 4. Would you be recommend an added requirement of limiting household occupants? Where 202 said yes, 171 said no. So far, we're going too fast.
Let me just go to this one for a second. Okay.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
So for currently fiscal year 27 senior trash accounts household size, we have 126 that have only one person living in the home. We have 39 with 2. 102 with 3 people living in the household, and 44 accounts with 4 people in the household. That's currently right now for the senior rate discounts.
And that's a very interesting breakdown right there.
Next year, we'll be adding 122. So people that are not 65 right now, that will be turning 65 next year, we're adding 122 to the counts. So 126 for one person household will go up to 14. 339 will add another 47. 102 will add another 35, and 44 will add another 26. And doing so would be an increase of 20% this year to next fiscal year.
And that's 20% subscriber.
Turning 65, correct.
Yeah, senior,
So that's-
the senior rate side.
Right, so that's not the dollar impact it's gonna have on the non-seniors.
That's correct.
Correct.
Numbers,
That's all I have.
good, Jack, very good.
Thank you.
That's great now.
Because that 20% that now goes to half rate. Without doing the math, that's gonna be a pretty good sized impact on the other subscribers
Right,
that are,
non-senior.
that's gonna be an adjustment.
What was the, what would be the increase financially, contractually?
For contractual,
Next,
so we'll go 513, 524 to 536, 633. And also the processing for recycling is going to go up $5 per ton.
So when you combine all that,
And you take 20%. Then half. It's a big increase.
Yeah.
Because it would take, you add 20% onto the senior discount, which gets half, that's the difference.
yeah, because you're taking that 20% out of the full pay subscribers
Yeah.
to the half pay.
Right,
That's,
it's a big discount.
well, I mean, it's more of a burden on the shoulders of the 65 subscribers.
Like you said, you got 2 more years with wheel break, right? Yeah, negotiation for wheel break, right?
yeah,
You got 2 more years on that. So who knows where that goes in 2 years? too. It's going on, well, that's another,
Well, they said it's gonna start in the high nineties. That's right, at one of the meetings.
and you're still 30+ hours. So it's gonna be an impact, I'm sure, for everybody, but when you look at it, if you take out and you don't stay with that coalition, you're gonna go from the high 90s to 130 now.
Oh, easy.
Easy.
Yeah.
Easy. So I mean, you know, you had real good run when you've been below market, it's still below market, so for the trash side, it's good. And it's kind of, you know, the fact that you allow them to get the 2 trash carts if they want, now, do they pay an annual fee for that extra trash cart? It's a one-time fee?
They're allowed 2 trash barrels a year.
Okay, 4 trash bags, 4 30-gallon trash bags, so that ends up filling 2 totals. Max.
Well, I don't,
I would-
never follow that.
Yeah.
Policy, we've done the 2 totals, but somebody could easily be guilty. Stick 6 trash bags in each one of those totals.
I would think.
6 small ones,
Well, 6 kitchen size,
yeah. I'm talking about, we had the 30-gallon,
Yeah, 30-gallon ones, yeah.
yeah,
and you could barely get 2 because of the structure,
The structure, yeah.
without closing the lid completely.
But I mean, I would think that if you're allowing a resident, and this is just me, that would be an annual fee.
Yeah.
If you want 2 trash cans, I'm dealing with Thorn right now, so when you look at your senior rate, the Thorn's over 65 is 60% population of 24,000 residents.
wow.
And they give every senior 4 free bulks. Live together, husband and wife, you get 8 free bulks a year.
each town is this.
A year with Thorn. I'm dealing with that right now. And
How they,
all tax based.
yeah, but
I agree with you.
So
They're
everybody
trying-
contribute to.
They're trying to figure this out, you know.
right, not just subscribing, but still.
And veterans, if you're a veteran also, they give you the 4 free. So they used to pick it up themselves, throw it in their dumpsters. So they stopped that because they don't have the manpower for the highway department. So I gave them a bulk pricing. You know, it's high because of the fact that, you know, it's a high prevailing wage rate I pay. There's no place, you know, it's not like I can run around and only get a couple. So they're paying a lot more now if they want me to pick it. But I show up to a house. We did one the other day, they had 3 sections. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but where do you come up with 3 sections?
Yeah.
In a mattress, they'll take a mattress.
Awesome.
If you're a senior. So,
And unfortunately, abuse.
so, and they allowed, when they first rolled the program out, they gave you the extra trash cart and the extra recycling cart, and it was supposed to be an annual fee on it. And then have some, so no one knows how many people have 2 or 3 carts.
Oh my God.
Really?
The trash carts,
What's the percentage of the population that actually uses the bulk program?
everybody,
Well,
Everybody. everybody. They have a website that call in, it lists your address and it lists how many participants in that address are seniors. As you know, how many seniors there are in your book. And it locks you right up. How many would you like there? Oh, I'd like 4. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, you can't do anymore. Now your wife calls next week. How many would you like? Oh, I'd like 4 too. Yeah. I was told I was gonna do 160 a month when I took this program over. You know, I'm doing it twice a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays. I'm picking up 35, 40 pieces every day.
Wow.
Tuesdays and Thursdays. It is unbelievable. And I, at 60%, well, when you talk about the benefit for the senior, because guess what? You're not the only one taking advantage of that. Because the son brings over the couch, neighbor, a cousin, anyone in that area that is not getting that kind of service, is bringing them over.
Taking advantage.
Exactly.
I mean, it was like Milford, when we got rid of the bulk of Milford, drastic change. Drastic change.
That's Milford's half.
Yes, Well, it's that-
That's Blackstone, the same thing, well, because we have the recycling center too. so-
Right, so you get the recycling center, which helps. you.
Right. And then we have, like, for the garbage, you only get one trash container. Recycling. You have extra bags, you can bring them up to the recycling center, $3 a bag.
That's cheap. What's
Yeah.
that? It's cheap.
Yeah, $3.
Yeah, that's cheap. Yeah, like I said, some places, like you said, they don't want the extras, they don't want to pay to throw bags at the curb. Because then now you're dealing, stuff outside the car, you get them inside the car, outside the car. So yeah, having a place to drop them off. you
Right,
guys get
and
the
then,
same.
you guys all grew up automated pickup as
Yeah.
opposed to me.
Yeah, and everybody's going down that path.
Yeah, and that's how it is.
Public won't do it anymore, waste management won't do it.
No one's doing bags at the curb.
We still, I'm doing Westwood, I do Rockborough, Westwood, so we still do have some contracts that don't have the costs. But you can see that, everybody's moving that, way, but the cost of costs is through the roof. That's the problem.
That's why we limited it to one, because we looked into it.
Mhm.
But the other thing, another reason too, was to get a handle on the tipping in preparation of our contract expiring in delivery.
And knowing you're gonna go up on that.
Right, so now residents know they have that one container, anything else, you're breaking it up. Paying for it yourself.
And that's what I think you could give everybody the two, which is a smart move, because it's the cheapest piece for it. That should be an annual fee, not a one-time fee. Because now you're giving them, let's say it's a senior. So now you're giving a senior 2 trash cans. And is the son bringing the trash from the out, because he knows that, he doesn't need to be in the program? And it's a one-time fee, who wouldn't do that?
Right,
So, yeah, I would, if you're looking at, you might want to crunch some numbers, I don't know how we figure out, we got 2 cons out there. Maybe something we get,
maybe Phil can keep track of it, and he was not fix them up and.
I know we're getting a lot of technology, Phil might know it pretty well, but, I can ask when I go back in and see what Phil says, how many he thinks are unfitted with double cots. Because I know we don't get it that often, when you send us something,
Yeah,
deliver it. I can ask Michelle and see if there's anything she can run to see, but again, we're going back, and the problem is we've changed systems. So I know you asked for some historical data,
yeah,
that's gone, we cannot find that.
yeah.
Because when we went from the system we're into the new system, everything's gone. So that's,
Today, I put out 2 cots for trash.
Yeah.
But there was only 132 gallon
Yeah.
trash bag in each.
each one,
But if I put 2 in one, I wasn't gonna be able to close the lid. I know we're supposed to close the lid, so where I have that extra cot, it's like, I'll just put
two
2
cots,
cots.
exactly. I'm doing, Amy just went to a 35-gallon cot every other week, service,
Wow,
Way.
trash,
Wow.
Who is that?
Maine.
Where's all that trash on the side of the road?
They,
Because that's not a good.
No,
and what happened is they're enforcing that if the lid is up 3 inches,
yeah,
tag
that's what's happening with us,
it.
to prevent people from either, overstuffing the barrel or putting the bag on top of the lid, if there's a bag of garbage on top of the lid, it doesn't get. Just doesn't get tagged. That's,
Like I said, everybody's doing the same thing. It's getting on an inventory user fee based. So they went from being, everything's free to now a user fee based.
Yep.
So, that's an option too, when you look at, it's similar here with the user fee base, but their user fee for 135 gallon, 195 every other week recycling is $400.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna come to that one, the towns that
Proposition.
are willing to, right,
Can't get it on. No, they didn't. No, that at the end of every budget term, it's all that excess money. Our taxes, my taxes go up 1% every year. So how is it that a city or a town is limited to a 2.5 override when? Like what
because
it's
they haven't reached their tax levy yet, your town hasn't reached its tax levy, that's why it can tax you over 2.5% right now.
Yeah.
Once you reach your tax levy, then you have to go to the formal process of.
Really?
That's where there's information.
Vermont, so a good friend of mine has got a big piece of property in Vermont. That's 16%.
Yeah.
His taxes. And he goes, is it because I don't live there full time? Because, you know, he's got his house done and what? He goes, is it because I don't live there full time? Oh, no, we need this to everybody.
Mhm.
Everybody. Because every town, every city is struggling with, I'm coming up, you know, and that thing with the 2.5. Because, you know, I listen to a lot of them, you know, I go to the meetings and on Sunday, I'll come up with all the extra money at the end of the year. Okay, well, we're able to find all the difference, but.
It's not that much really at the end of the year, what they do is year-end transfers where some accounts are, you know, are over and they have some surplus in their accounts. It really is not a lot of money. Really isn't.
Okay.
It's surprising to me because, I mean, now, I'm a senior citizen.
Really, surprise, that's a surprise. Yeah.
But we put out the trash every other week.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're very conscientious about it, and
Mhm.
do everything, and even when we put it out every other week, it's not like up to the sky.
Yeah.
It's crazy, I don't understand that, you know?
I'm the same way, just me and my wife at the house, and we get a 65 weekly pickup, because like here, right? And why burn, so you know, well, I don't put a lot of recyclables out, so my recyclables might go out once every 3 weeks, 4
Yeah.
weeks. And I put my trash back down and I'll have 1 or 2 bags, and the only reason I put it out every week is because I got the dog and I take her for walks and I pick up all the poops, I never leave them on the side of the road and you know, in the yard or anything like that, so. Those go in a little special container away from that, and then on the day of the drive, it goes in the trash and I wheel it down the driveway. But same thing, I don't see, and I look at some people, the cover's up, they got extra, because it's pay as you throw it, you go in the car, and then they get it up. I'm like, no, so
That's how it's nice, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure when your kids were younger and you had a full household, you got a lot more garbage. Right?
Yeah, one house in Mendon, where we found out that 11 people were living there,
Oh my God.
and they would get this discount. That's what started all of this.
Oh, really?
how many trash cars do they have?
We only have 2, because that's what we wanted to off at.
And we-
Amazon.
That goes to the question of the automation aspect of the program. How has that been working with regard to those that might put out extra bags that are not in a tote that will less than out to us?
I'm not sure how much food gets out in trucks, I don't hear a lot of complaints from him.
Because we've seen a lot of, we have mentioned in general, time sticker. What is, income has gone down. So it may not be a lot that maybe as much as it once was.
Yeah.
So maybe it's sort of under control.
If you can get 265 gallons, that's a lot of trash. And I don't care if you get a 4 family, 5, you know, I don't care if you have 5 people living in that.
Yeah.
Because we went to 95s in Milford.
That's what we know.
Yeah, so we went to 95s and it's impossible to fill it. You know,
Yeah.
And, you know, and you're talking multi-families, they go up to a 5 family, you know, that 95 gallon trash full. So you're giving them more. You're at 130 gallons.
Yeah, that's a lot of garbage.
And we did Bellingham, right?
Yeah.
And we reduced it.
Yeah.
Bellingham was 150 gallons when we started it. That was years ago. And when they went to that 65 gallon, and everybody lost their mind.
Yeah,
But now, you do have to do the pay go bags after that. I mean, it's not, it adjusted, but to have 130 gallons, you guys are almost what the old Bellingham was at, how many years ago?
Yeah.
12, 15 years.
At least.
So, you know, there's very few, I mean, 95 from Milford is a very large. As in 95, same thing, 95 is a very big trash one. But when they get 265s, we're at 130
yeah,
gallons.
that's a
And
lot.
it's a one-time, and it's a one-time pay.
Yeah, I agree.
So that adjustment in amount of trash is developing an example. Difference in on the recycle side, people recycling them.
Yes, people, we've seen since we've gone to the automated,
Yes,
where.
Because you have accountants. You've also given them a comp.
Yes.
So now you get a comp, which makes it much easier. You know,
There's a lot
doing
of
that
single
19
stream.
gallon bin anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're absolutely correct. don't just hire a lady full time.
Yes,
She goes out and flips the lids. And she puts you an boot sticker on the back of your handle. Like, okay, but there was a lot of multifamilies that, it's vacant, but there's a lot of issues that, you get a training. But you get the difference in, language barrier,
Yeah.
You have, different languages for the piece, but yeah, it's been a challenge.
but also too, to limit, like you said, the multi-family, so we're limited to 3.
That's what most people,
That's it.
most of them
Got
do 3.
more than that, you get service.
And I don't think we have any 3 families out there.
Yeah, I can think of one.
I was gonna say,
There's not that many.
that's what I was gonna say, this is, now, we go to Philly.
Yeah.
We go to Lowell, we go to Lawrence, we start talking 9
It's
families.
a different landscape.
It's different landscape altogether, so I mean, this is not a Milford. This is more like a Hopedale, but even Hopedale, you get down to Hopedale, there's a lot of multifamilies.
Yes,
So much different than,
oh, yeah,
because of the mill, so you got
Right.
the mill complex now, so much difference when you look at how many multifamilies you have. So it's just, it's dynamic, like you said, it's,
but you have to look at, like the gallons that you're allowing at the curb. Because with the changes that Jack just suggested, and also in 2 years, the tipping, it's almost gonna be upside down. If you're gonna make some kind of an adjustment.
Where would that adjustment, this fee, I guess, that's kind of,
what's your
would
current
it
fee?
be reducing?
What's your current fee?
444 is standard rate, so 222 every 6 months.
For the whole year,
444, yes.
444, okay. Yep, so that's, you're right in the range where everybody else is, that's kind of what the rate is right now. Not sure that everybody's given a 50% discount though, for that many seniors, and allowing a second cot without any additional
Well, that's
charges.
right, and that's what we look at, what you mean.
But yeah, you're right in the ballpark, what you're looking at, I mean, there's nobody gonna do it cheaper for you than that, whether you bring in, any of the other private haulers, everybody's closer to a, 45 to 60 pounds. Well, for your monthly fee. So if you're looking at being closer to $60, you're talking, almost, yeah, 720 in that range right there, yeah. Yeah, and if you get a big family and, that's kind of where you sit, you need those 295 gallons, and that's why sometimes you have subscriptions. Because, they need the 95 each week. I know, Berkowitz will give you 2 trash cans. They'll throw 2 trash cans out, single family house.
Mm.
So, seeing more and more, where if you've got a large family, I've got a log cabin down the street from my house there. And I'm on the woods, so there's no one families around this. Log cabin, beautiful piece. With 2-car detached garage, puts a full apartment above. Drive by the other day, he's got a 40 by 60 built in the back.
ADU,
I thought it was the garage. I said, wow, that's a nice garage. That's a lot bigger than my garage. And I got a big garage, so I was pretty excited. I drive by.
ADU, yeah.
I go, so I looked at,
And the values.
Accessory dwelling unit,
yeah,
you can circumvent zoning now. Because of the housing crisis, you just can't circumvent, the septic system.
and we're septic. So we're a septic system. So I looked at
So
what
they
it's,
put it,
it's not. It's not.
then maybe the upgrading stuff. But see, down in Title V, you can't share.
On Rhode Island.
Oh,
So I
all
understand.
right. Well, my-
So I understand.
I like-
So I looked, it was a nice piece of property, the egg farm was selling, they had 18 acres of land. It's never been lots since I lived out there. I called up the realtor and I asked. So zoning is 450 feet of frontage and 5 acres. They only had 550 feet of frontage, one house on 18 acres. That was it. They were arguing with the guy down the street because the guy's going through a wetland right now. Because he owns 40 acres behind this one little piece of property in the front, which was its own 2 acres. And he got permission to go through the wetlands.
Wow.
Oh, it's going through the wetlands. And we've been fighting it for years. And I was going through the wetlands because he's gonna put 8 houses out there. But I tell you, it's a drop off, coming off the street. You're 6 feet off the street, there's a cul-de-sac right there, because the stream runs through, and it's all swamp.
Oh, my God.
And that's what he's going through to get to the property. I'm like,
Good luck. That is so wrong.
oh, yeah.
Who is that that's doing it?
He owns, trying to remember the restaurant, he owns George's Restaurant. Mark, I can't remember his last name now, he owns George's, but he's been fighting this for years and years. People on the streets been fighting, because they go, it's a private road. So I said, if you can allow a private road, why can't you do a shared driveway, and I can put 3 house lots on? And it's worth my while to buy that piece of property. Not worth my while to buy a piece of property with 18 acres and put 1 house on. This is in Massachusetts. If it was Wellesley or Weston, absolutely. You know, then you make it consider the dollars. But you look at those footprints, you can put so many houses. They just did one in Westwood. It's a postage stamp, and they had a blast lot for almost a week, 2 weeks to get the foundation in. And you're blind. You're gonna come out of that driveway blind. But again, it's Westboro, which, you know, it's that kind of crazy money just because where you are. Yeah, I look at this and I go, how did he ever get by the DEM? But when I researched it, and they said that because of the fact that's the only way you can get to those lots, they have a problem. So it's gonna be interesting to see.
It's gonna be wet to get there.
Well, there's all kinds of stuff he's gotta do, like he's gotta take all that wet mud out. He's gotta put in cul-de-sacs, he's gotta put in drainage, he's gotta do stone. I mean, he's gonna have to build this silly thing up for at least 300 feet, 400 feet, almost 6 feet. So
You
he
must
gets
have
that
to do some kind of replication too.
All right, if I may interrupt, let's get back on the topic of the conversation. I mean, please, we'll just trash.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, with all this kind of being said, is there, and solve it this evening per se, but is there thought of potentially making any kind of modifications to our current program for the next cycle? You know, we talked a little bit before about the purchase your bag, pay as you throw.
Right.
Is changing to that format at some point concept to consider or not? But maybe we could change that element.
Didn't Holliston do that at one point?
Holliston into the 35 gallon cup.
But what if they pay as you throw?
No. Northborough's the one on the stage.
All right. How does that work for them?
So they found they only have half the residents on it. They throw program.
Yeah, well, yeah.
He's struggling with taking budget for it, because, you know, you get recycling, and you get your pay as you throw. And I have probably more subscription customers out there.
And you guys have up this page,
Up this page, you throw it, bag one, it.
where they don't, where you know, paying with the numbers about.
I do not, I just, because I know they changed, Diane left, she's no longer.
Yeah, sure, time.
And, the younger gentleman they got out was real nice.
Yeah, he's a good
Yeah,
kid.
smart kid. I'm not sure what their numbers are, or where they sit on, how they get their stuff. But again, they struggle because they look backwards. So they do the 18 gallon bin, for the same thing, the 95 gallon bin. for truck.
Yes.
So they do it, you know, so now every time you dump it, and as AI comes out, we're gonna be able to identify it easier. But every time you dump it, if somebody's hiding a bag in the bottom, now you get a tag. You send them the address, and then they find where it's found bags in.
Maybe just look at our own program as far as we concessions, there, the additional garbage barrel, like Mike said, make that an annual fee. Maybe look at the senior household. Maybe to reduce.
Well, yeah, we see from Jack's,
Yeah,
history, at one point it was 2 people.
Yeah.
And I think it should be.
you know, and run those numbers and see what happens.
Because then you're gonna take a lot of those off, threes, the 4 things. You know, the 1 and 2s are fine, for the senior. But like you said, if there's 4 people, that means that, you know, either the kids have moved back in, or,
Right.
you know, the parents have moved in with children. And now you get a senior living there. There's a husband, wife, 1 child, and now you get 4.
And Jack, can you bring up that, document that actually had that breakdown of the households on the senior side, 1, 2, 3, 4?
Do that, or you go back, go to the 95 gallons of garbage, one container. And then,
Well, 65 is what we got.
oh, you know,
Yes,
they
about
pay
65.
bags, extra bags.
Next year.
Is that,
You want next year's numbers or right now?
well, it's just to kind of see this, does this reflect what's happening now?
No, right now.
Yeah, so just kind of looking at that, I mean, you know, because there was a discussion point about whether or not that 4 should go to 2. Right? So you can see what the difference would be,
146.
how many households would be qualified for senior rate. It's over 100 households. 3 and 4, right, combined. And we're not-
Next year it's more, right, Jack? This is this year current, right? Next year it's more.
That's it.
If you go into next year, it's even more.
Yep.
And 35, so adding 50 more in that category.
And then how many of those 3 and 4 family households have 2 cots? So to beat the system, because you gave them half rate.
And then they get the rest from the cat,
They get extra cot.
but maybe that's where it should be, our focus should be scrubbing that a little bit.
Then you see, then you run some numbers too, to see what that's for. If we get, either A, you charge an annual fee, an annual fee shouldn't be cheap. Looking at an annual fee, an extra cot, that should be a cheap annual fee because of the fact that,
Almost look at the increase for next year, you add the 47 and the 14, so that's 61. Add the 35 and 26, we eliminated that. That's 61 also, almost just paid for that increase there. Right, it would be a wash.
then, and once you run those numbers, then you can see the other car, how many people actually run the other car. Between that and the extra car, that might compensate enough for it, and you get 2 years to look to see what happens. with the
Right.
number of the car.
Right,
Then you get a better idea where you sit.
Is there any basis for saying pay to throw is a more evenly distributed cost per household versus what we currently do now?
I mean, I guess you'd have to say, yeah, it's more evenly, right? Because if you only put out 1 bag, you only pay for 1 bag. Put out 2 bags, you pay for 2 bags, so it becomes that dynamics.
I mean, we're still paying for the base service,
Yeah.
have them come pick it up, right?
So it doesn't, the pay to throw program, if you don't have the cards on it, then nobody wants to do it. So now you're dealing with the cards, so as AI comes out, we got that's quite a bit of money. You should be able to start to be able to identify, if everybody goes to cost, it's what they need from, and sustain it. But then again, think about it, we're already charging. Charging that, plus we do the pay to throw program, just have a very high value.
right, because you're gonna have to pay for the service on top of it.
Correct.
And then you still gotta figure out, you're gonna have every bag be paid for by the residents for the service, this comes a balance, right? I don't know which one it's, I guess, pay to throw by the bag is fair. We just pay for what they do, but it's a harder system to sell. Like I say, there's people that, I think we have to reach out to residents and nothing, subscription. Over going, we pay before that. Holliston's a little different, Holliston's tax based, so you get that every week. 35 and 65. I can't tell you how many customers out there, because the houses are so big, I've actually bought private service on top of it, because it's cheaper than buying the bags.
So then you'd still have to pay for the service for the people that wanted to do the pay as you throw for the curbside service, and but you don't have the same amount of users now. So that cost would increase as well.
Well, is there a talk about those communities that have it in their tax program,
And that's how it's in the tax program.
right?
So everybody gets it. It's not an opt-in or opt-out. It's not a use a few days program. It's a tax-based program, so everybody gets one. And then if you can either buy the bags, put the bags out extra, or you can, buy another service.
Is there an argument for taking this program, bringing it to a tax-based program instead of just a subscriber?
I think we've talked about that in the past, and because of the cost of the program, sure, yeah, 2.5 more.
That's what I was thinking. Do it that way, yeah. Whether you use the fee.
Wasn't thrilled about that.
Right.
Now granted, it will only be for the first year or two, I don't know. You know, how we get swap back over, but then all of a sudden, just the reason we got where we are today is because the town was strapped for money. One of the first things they did was, well, everybody's on their own for trash. So do you want to stand for what we have? With the risk. Going cycles. And all of a sudden, the town gets strapped, and everybody's supposed to figure out how to do the trash.
You're gonna build it.
Program got dissolved.
Mobile need that.
Right.
They got rid of the library.
Yeah.
They got rid of the senior center.
Yeah, we're good.
Yes.
That was
Since last 3 years.
7, 8 years ago.
I think it was that, yeah.
Yeah, it was 8, but it was when I was in my 1 year sabbatical. So,
I think the program we have is, we just need to identify it.
It's very hard to police any program. And there's always gonna be people that use it. We don't wanna get restrictive to the point where we're encouraging people to throw trash in places to trash it. But we're also trying to keep it reasonably affordable. We're trying to give our subscribers a good value. We're very hard at trying to do that. Where do you see the trucking portion of trash going? Because that's the other side of it.
and trucking's the same. Trying to buy. Pay for fuel. I mean, fuel's through the roof. Everybody sees
See, I paid
it.
$5.35 these.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is absolutely insane. Try to budget it. And the nice thing about working with us, hopefully it's free. So we take on all the risk. So you got no monthly expense. Waste management, Casella, people probably does it too. They book in a fuel surcharge, it's 9 gallons. So you add another slice onto that piece, and now not only are you paying for, your trash disposal, your processing, your recycling, now you're paying for fuel.
And wait time after we all.
I was just gonna say, I put that in, so
Yeah.
I have wait time clauses, but for all our towns, the nice thing about our towns is goes to our transfer station.
Yeah.
You never get charged for wait. Transport. So now, it's not trucks sitting, or in Milford's case, it's not 3 trucks. It's not Bill sitting there for 2.5 hours.
Right,
Right now,
and then starts the route late and then they can complete the route.
it's a 4-hour wait.
Because I'll get emails from other communities saying, is anybody else experiencing wait time delays? Because Woodway's is doing a lot of renovations and shutting down the systems for as it ends. Like, not bad, we just not working.
Well, and the issue is that it's old. That incinerator is gonna be 25 years old.
Yeah.
It's gross. Anyways, what's that? And maintenance on that is why waste management sold that. But the amount of maintenance that you do at least 4 outages every year. And that's 4 weeks at a time. CMAS, we own the one right across the street, from CMAS and Zero Waste, and we run trailers. I mean, it's literally 2 miles at best. We could get 6, 7 loads in there a day. We were doing 1. We were sending it for 5 hours. Because when they do an outage, it's the same way. When an outage hits, and they have to maintain these incinerators, because, it's a great little piece for them. But when you go to an outage and everybody's dependent on going,
Yeah.
that we, as the haulers, you tell us to go there, well, we didn't have what we have. There'd be wait time clauses on every contract, because we can't afford to sit there, pay the prevailing wage rate. But 2.5 hours, and like you said, drivers don't complete the route, now they're struggling.
Yeah, the product stays on the ground, you know, there's issues with that,
Yep.
especially like in the summertime, you know, warm weather. The animals and whatnot, it's not a good scene.
Did they just announce it out for this week? Was it last week?
Sweet.
And I don't, you know, this one, but
There was a
Shut it
2
down
hour
for
wait.
us.
Yeah, this morning,
When?
they started the route 2 hours late and it didn't complete it.
Any new incinerators,
Do what?
any new incinerators coming online?
What do you think the chances of getting that passed?
It's just.
Let's just throw that out.
I'm not the guy that knows.
So we tried to do one in Webster, we tried to do one above 16, and it's all that property. We came in, I had just started, I just moved from Holliston to Auburn. Man, you thought we were the worst people in the world, and we were trying to put that in. So an incinerator or a dump, you realize every one of us all trash out of Massachusetts.
Yes,
None of us can, there's not enough capacity. There's no capacity.
Yeah.
And then they give you a food waste bin. I have no place to put it.
I know. We'll go back to in the old days, I remember the badges. You know, the seagulls would follow them out into out of the ocean.
Yeah, it's tough, no, and that's why, I mean, every one of us that are out of public waste, even when with owning all the incinerators, they have a massive landfill. They're all bagging it, and you see the flatbeds go by with the big black bags on it, and it's got like MSW on it, that's all trash headed down to Alabama, headed out to New York, depending upon where the flatbed driver's going. You give them a load up.
And now the big problem too with the pits is the damn lithium batteries.
Oh, we're getting fires everywhere.
Yeah, the fire starts, I mean, that's it, you know, that thing shuts right down. Boom. We were on tour one day. And
Really,
the pit caught fire.
really. So we got a fire road we spent a fortune on, and it puts out lithium battery fires. We have one mounted on a truck, and we have a fire, or 2 fires every day. It's on
Yeah.
our transfer station. Now, all I see is our region. There's 4 other regions. I don't even see that. Every morning, I'll see 2 fires at the transfer station or in a truck. It's everybody's throwing it away. All it takes is that little button.
Yep.
And you throw it away, and now you get a
They're a
fire.
nuisance.
So we have a fire road that is like AI driven. So it monitors all the temperatures, and it's pointing at every one of our things. It notices a rise in the temperature. And it's that thing, and coats it and puts the fire out. So, and it's hard to put a lithium battery fire out.
Yes.
You can bury it, you can do different things, but we've got the technology where we can deal with that. Yeah, you're right, lithium batteries, and everything's a lithium battery. So, what don't you buy now, is stuff, one of those little bucket batteries, so, you know, something like that, so it's getting on and on. Yeah, that's why I said it's, gosh, you're gonna be tough, you know, and like you said, Massachusetts is just so strict on it, including our expanding the program areas.
Mhm.
So even the fact that the incinerator can generate power still doesn't tip the scale.
Oh, no, the incinerator rate is in Massachusetts, and people look at the electricity. That's where the money's.
Right, but the tip the scale that somewhere you could build.
The issue with the capacity, right, is not even a national landfill. Which a national landfill is heavy metals. Which nobody wants heavy metals. In a landfill. They had bought all the landfills, they bought the one down in Putnam. They got the Shrewsbury landfill, they turned that into a national landfill. So any place they had an opportunity to buy an existing. Turned it into a national. So all the incinerators, Preston does the same thing, they got the thing, but there's nobody wants any of that. Yeah, and then they
So it's the residue
stop to,
from the incinerator
it's
that's
heavy metals.
the biggest problem.
It's a heavy metal, yeah. And, you know, the landfills, like everybody says, landfills and stuff like that. You get the methane gas, so you generate power the same way you do out of that. And it decomposes, and then they put a solar farm, look at Plainville, it's a solar farm. You know, and I don't know if it still does, we've got 3 landfills on our property. Well, they've all lived out their lives, so not the one generating anything, but, you know, that just sits there. Nobody wants to put one of those, and it's all seagulls, so. I don't know, the future's gonna be interesting for Massachusetts, because as the incinerators continue to, be more maintenance, towns are gonna get hit with higher wait times, your disposal costs is gonna go up, and it's an issue. And we're one of the few, and I've been around a lot of places, Devon's has a very nice transfer station, Kingsborough uses up the other day on, and they do the same thing, or on the way out in cars. Being driven out in cars, because it's tough, it's real tough to sit there in your brand new roof, and like to your point now, it's 100 degrees out.
Yeah.
And we can't get the new house. Yeah. And then trucks, water trucks are getting truck parts, isn't that?
And that's the big thing is, you know, the recovery.
Because you fight that, and now we're CDL, so snowplow movers. You can do 15, 16 hours a day. That's 60 hours, we're at 12 hours a day. If we go over 14 hours, we need a 10-hour reset. So if somebody sit at that, because once you're in, you can sit there till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Once you're in, if you're there till 8 o'clock at night, now you can't come back in till tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, and you normally start at 5 o'clock. So now you're already 2 hours behind before you even start. So it's Massachusetts is a challenge because there's not a lot of places. Is what it is. Everyone needs and raises. It's always 4 times a year. There's no good time at the summertime.
Well, from a cost perspective between trash and recycling, your recycling is higher.
Yes.
Right? Where do you see that going as far as rates between those two?
Right now, recycling's bad, so if recycling gets bad, you know, and it's an uphill and downhill, right? Because you never know. Like for a little while, cardboard was good, now cardboard's not good. Food grade paper like from supermarket, that's a good grade. Our processing plant is amazing. Our process through there, the amount of trash that comes out of that, it's ridiculous. And glass. It's awful.
Biggest.
It destroys our
Yep.
trucks. It destroys our equipment.
Blades, it's cotton blades,
There's nothing good about it. I mean,
Nope.
it's just so abrasive that even though we're using AR steel inside the bodies. So, you take glass out of the recycling, and I think we're talking 13-14% your weight. Depending upon your town, I do Duxbury, transfer station. Very heavy wine drinkers, nothing wrong with that, right? They do a 30 yard a week of glass.
wow.
Now, that's recycling that?
Well,
It's trash.
it's being used for, there's a name for it, they use it for,
Playground stuff?
No, like they like put it through the tumbler and then they use it for the
yeah.
mulch, you know, or in their fish ponds and stuff.
They use it for underneath the top, so you can use it on the first level of top.
Yeah,
And you can use it underneath all your drainage pipes, all the sewer pipes, and with all the construction going on. It's, and if we're closing a landfill and small landfill, you can use it for shaping and grading. So when Hopedale closed, we gave them a whole bunch of plans. So that's kind of what this is. Unless you go into a liquor store, I saw it in my color. There's no play, the one in Milford closed, right? The one in Grove Street in Franklin closed. There's not around. You know, Florida is experimenting with grinding it back on
yeah,
and turning it in back into sand. But the machine that you need to do that, and then you gotta make sure it's environmentally correct. So now they're running studies to see what it's gonna do when they put it back out into the ocean. But it's really sand. But it's cheaper to take the sand out of the sand pit than it
then
is.
it is the tumble with brick.
Come
You
on,
can get the
plastic.
tumbler for the glass and whatnot. They said they take out the shaft edges of, like, mostly down in the south though, really not, not in, northeast. And they use it for mulch and in their fish ponds and things like that, because you really know, other than like Mike said, now you can mix it in with the tab and stuff. Use it that way.
Same thing. I mean, it's just, it's such a tough commodity.
Yeah, it really is.
And, you know, everybody
doubt.
thought that was gonna be the best. Aluminum's good, plastic is good, you know, I mean, it's not good for us to actually drink plastic. They find all the contaminants in it, it's really not that good. So,
We had people actually ask the question, why don't you promote the recycle aspect of the program while by offering another recycle bin? Petroleum versus trash bin.
it's the cost. You're absolutely right, and the fact that you're on the wheeler rated deal, you have such a benefit. That these years now, it's going up nowhere near what it would be if you weren't on that program. So, yeah, it's like you said, it's just, Massachusetts is just such a tough, Massachusetts and California, two hottest places to run.
When that contract first started with, the wheel grader, 20 years ago, tipping was $30 and something cents.
Yeah.
All right,
Because they needed to buy them.
yeah,
It's
yes,
a
they
lot
were
of money.
begging for it,
They spent a lot of money.
Yes.
They needed to buy. And
Yeah.
it was running good, it was brand new.
yeah,
And that one, and I know for a fact, that makes more money with the electricity, the general, it's because of Massachusetts being so expensive, like this. That is making so much money on that. But that's why the trash coming in, they need to burn, but they don't need to be at the rate we need to be to transport it, get it out. So we couldn't compete. We've got a good size landfill, and we can't compete with even high 90s. Because of the fact that we can't get it down there and process it. So, you know, the wheel is still going to be the best. It's going to be the best option, even though it's going to go up. And so is everything else, right? We look at everything, so it's going to be a conversation, but you can look at, you know, is it worthwhile changing the senior level? Is it worthwhile charging for that extra barrel? Find out how many extra barrels you got. I mean, that's something that, you know, you start to look at, you can crunch some numbers and see what kind of savings that's going to be, especially next year for what you're talking about. Seniors. And that price is a great deal. You know, maybe you give a tier thing where you have, if you one and two, and you know, 2 was if you're 3, and a little bit more, if you're 4 thing. And you see, you give a tier thing where, you know, because it's always right, if you change anything, people will complain.
Yeah, well, we had these conversations a year ago in terms of, you know, being, let's say, prepared and anticipating some of the things that we may or may not have to do after the decision we made last year. Because of the survey, we don't know actually who participated in the survey.
Yeah.
They're all seniors. There's a positive response to keep the program the way it was.
Yeah, exactly. And
I'm
that's
not saying it was, but could have been. So overwhelmingly, we didn't change anything other than to change the quantity, because from the survey, it was determined, there was some input about lowering the number, putting a cap on, which we did. But we did say, in preparation going forward, we'll see how this goes after a year, and maybe, depending on how costs go and how the program changes, how many additional seniors we get on top of it, and how it's going to affect the non-senior rate, there may or may not have to be a consideration for a modification. So, you know, how we do.
Like I said, that's all quick food for thought right now. You're looking ahead, you get some good data, so that's gonna help you. And then I'll talk and see if I can. I don't know how we'll be able to go back and find out how many extra 2 cars out there.
But again, let's take into consideration, the either give the ELR second card or they give the room card on their own.
Yeah.
So there could be a lot more cars where ELR we get from one up or 2 cars.
Or you can take away the second car, say only one
Right.
car. You know, that becomes the other piece. You give one
Right.
car.
One cat.
Yeah, one
That's it.
car, and then that's it. And then you just gotta figure out the overflow.
The trash stickers again.
Because like I said, you know, you're a 65 gallon drum. John's a 65 gallon. You know, hopefully he works, what hell down there. He's like, we get used to it. Maybe a couple times a year I have to buy a bag. He goes, that's 65 gallon. And if it's winter time, you know, you're on, you know, you're doing something like that, you just can hold it for a week. It's no big deal. You know, you get your own car there, you get a barrel, you just hold it for a week and you put it out the next week when, you know, you don't have.
Right.
Family gap, you know? Holidays are always tough on graduations. That's when traffic becomes an issue. Got, you know, big party going on at the house, and everybody, brother comes over, so.
Anything else?
Also, I thought,
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
thank you, Mike.
Anytime, it's always a pleasure, you know?
Appreciate it.
That's it. Thank you again. Like I said, if you got anything, everybody's got my cell phones, just give me a call.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good luck.
Yes, you're right.
Back on the agenda here. BOH meeting minutes in 10:08. Does everyone have a? Do those?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's go to the first one, let's go to June 10th, please. Yeah, comments, additions, subtractions.
Comment is well done.
Thank you. No issues?
No issue.
Well, thank you very much.
Love the form.
From my perspective, we have to hear from yours.
I've been thinking about it for all this time. I'm ready to rock and roll. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, so can I have a motion, please?
And do we accept the minutes for June 10th? 2026,
Second motion,
All in favor?
Tom, aye.
your side.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to July 8th. Same scenario.
No issues, two and I vote, Jack.
Holy.
We're gonna play water tonight.
Get to play. Can't sit at home.
That's goodbye.
You can just.
I think that I went through it and everything was good. I was happy with the plan. I was happy plans out.
And I love the fact that added concept we put into this.
Right,
Excellent.
that works very well. I love that. I move that we accept it as read.
Second motion to accept the meeting minutes of July 8th.
All in favor?
Tom, aye.
First, I think,
Alan, aye. Thank you. Thank you. On. Mass DEP approval for gas well monitoring reduction. In the landfill.
James McQuaid emailed the Board of Health in July, letting us know that we have received a permit modification for gas monitoring, so we're gonna go from 4 times a year down to 2 times per year. But because of the wells that were just installed in December, we are not gonna be going down from groundwater monitoring. That's gonna be as 2 times a year. So both groundwater monitoring and soil gas monitoring are both now 2 times per year. And that will be a savings of $3,900 from the gas monitoring per year.
What was the savings?
$3,900.
Off the top of your head, when you spend to get this done.
The
Oh,
I wanted to say about $2,000.
okay, so, Tom, good job.
Wow.
We spent some money,
Spend a little.
we get a first year, we're on the plus side.
Yeah, I don't know, if you don't become that, we're getting from the wells.
Yeah, but
Yes,
if we didn't do them now,
I agree.
eventually
Eventually.
that mistake would have been caught.
Yeah,
So, and it would cost more 2 years from now or 4 years from now to do that process, so.
But now the new wells will help us mitigate to go down from 2 times to 1 times a year. After
Yeah.
so many analysis done.
that would be the hope. I guess they would ask the question, how long time period might we be looking at? Because fortunately, I didn't notice the email that Jack sent out to us. Otherwise, I might have recommended a meeting at the end of July to talk about this. Only because I had not so much issue in the issue of the questions. As I read through the actual permit. And one of the things I wondered is now the they're not going to reduce their estimation because things that they reported in the permit, not going to reduce the groundwater testing. You know, that I think in part was due to the fact that well situated. Right? Well, now we've mitigated that problem. I guess how many testing, how much time I have to last before we might be allowed to put forth another application to ask for another reduction. I guess that's kind of.
I would like to see 2 tests on these new wells, see what the results are, have a discussion. Because again, we want the reduction, but we know the expense that we have to incur to get that reduction. So I think if we had 2 rounds of testing on these new wells, let's look at the results. Then maybe we can ask a question from somebody that in our testing contract. Say, how many cycles do you think we need to go through based on the results that we've gotten from these new wells? Before you think it would be prudent to try to ask for a further reduction. Keeping in mind, you know, we spent $3 grand. You know, next time around it could cost more because everything's getting more expensive.
Yeah.
So we gotta try to think about what that return is gonna be. I mean, I think what we achieved first time around, it was good.
Yeah, for the well water monitoring, it's $3,500, so $6,000 a year right now. So we go down to 1. So we, again, do another permit modification of $3 grand, we're still coming ahead. $500.
And you've got to remember that's a one-time expense that we're putting out to request it. It's the annual cost.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So the initial, we had a nice initial saving. That's only gonna multiply out. Forward.
Oh, absolutely. And be corrected or wrong,
Oh, yeah.
which is always a good thing. So like I said, my suggestion would be let's go through a cycle of 2, see what we get from those new wells. I think we're gonna be good based on the fact that those old wells were in the landfill and the results weren't terrible.
They
They
were.
were.
I don't think they were. And I couldn't remember numbers. And I didn't have any reports to go back and actually look at numbers against. And I know that was one of the things that was referenced in the permit was one of the reasonings for not reducing the groundwater testing was contaminants that were detected by the. And in reading that through, it just made me wonder, was there a kind of assumption being drawn, almost like they do it by association, that the contaminants, although maybe not excessively high, that those contaminants that were detected, it's an assumption it was coming from.
I just look at it that way. Now, not being fully educated in how landfill works. That's what, now that those wells are located in the correct locations outside of the landfill, I think we're gonna get a better indication. as
Well,
to
I'm actually referring to the private
Right.
wells that were tested.
But I'm hopeful that because these new wells are located in the correct locations.
Wells from the landfill.
Right.
Those test results.
If those test results are good, then it's, yeah, because now, to your point, if they were in the well, in the landfill, and they were reading okay, now they're in the correct locations outside of the landfill, and they're reading okay, where are the contaminants in the private wells coming from? And
But you'd almost think though that if you had Jack's not know what this, you'd almost think that if you had test results from wells in the landfill, they were okay. And they're in the landfill. And you'd like to think that outside the landfill, be sure they're gonna be okay.
We're even better.
Or even better, how can you make the connection that contaminants in the private wells?
Because we're talking about groundwater. Okay, so,
Understand that's a whole.
yeah, let's say you get a 5 gallon pail, that's muddy.
Yeah.
Start putting water in. That contained area is saturated, the water starts gathering on the top. So my thought is, not being a geologist, soil person necessarily, that, yeah, maybe we didn't find any contaminants in the container, but what leaches outside of the container, outside of the landfill? And my point to that is that that's why they wanted those test wells outside of the landfill, not in the landfill in the first place.
Okay,
Because maybe as the water leaches out, we don't know what it carries with it.
okay. So you go.
So if we, like I said, if we get a couple of good rounds,
Yeah.
1 year, test on those, especially those new wells, and we get good readings.
Yeah.
Then I think you can make the argument that if there's contaminants in private wells adjacent to this landfill, it's not coming from the landfill. Unless someone would say, well, it came from the landfill 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and spread. But again, you have to be a real soil person to understand how that water flows under the ground. I'm talking surface current.
It's all, yeah, it's not what we see, it's underground.
But my untrained,
Yeah.
I would think that, because we all know that those drill wells go through rock. There's all kinds of minerals and things flowing through the layers of rock.
Yeah.
So something could be carried from somewhere else. I don't know the history of that land.
Yeah.
Something
I
that.
do.
I was gonna say, we haven't started.
Jason. Though it was probably very good quality land because it was owned by Joe Rogan. So a lot of the land that he bought was because it was something he could use to make concrete out of. It was good soil, well drained, it was sandy. So, we obviously need to have some data points,
Yeah, once, three.
and then maybe you could ask.
And that's what they're saying, yeah, that we need to have some data points. So even if, we did have a meeting and discussed it, it really, nothing was gonna change because the DEP is not, they want to see data points. They want to see what the source of the contaminants of the groundwater are in the fighting models. So the fact that we moved our wells outside of, the actual landfill, to see if they're also having low level contaminants, but they're curious, they want to see now if these new wells detectors have come back with the same low level contaminants as the budding private residences. So I think Alan's point of the cycle of it, and then we maybe have a discussion. And you have a discussion with the engineers too.
Right. The other thing I was trying to get from the permit, I don't know if it's signed anywhere, per se, they talk about, under specific permit conditions, they talk about what they're categorizing as the required post-closure monitoring period. Is that kind of defined anywhere? Is that kind of open-ended?
30 years.
I think that was a 30-year thing.
So now this landfill's been closed already before.
But we haven't been monitoring,
That's correct, because it would be a gap
right?
in the 90s. So we're still, I guess, using what the 30 is what was originally used as a number in the original closure agreement, right? Although in post discussions with DEP, sounds like that number is only because of changes in environmental movements that have taken place, that have kind of now putting closer eyes on things. So that 30 may not, maybe not, it's a fixed number. So,
No, it's not, and they proved that in allowing us to go to, to reduce our monitoring, of the landfill, not the groundwater monitoring, but the other monitoring, to go down to, from 4 to 2. So they're acknowledging that the life of the landfill is coming to, an end. However, the new wells, those are new wells, so that's why they're not prepared at this time to do that. But the other monitoring, so we went from 4 to 2.
yeah,
Now we'll see what those results look like, and then it will fall off eventually, because before they closed when they closed the landfill, they did what was called a comprehensive site assessment. And that told them exactly what was there, so that's what they have been, monitoring from that comprehensive site assessment. That's what they use as a basis for the requirements for the different types of monitoring that we've been doing all along. So now they're saying, okay, so yes, this is starting to fall off because through the monitoring that we've done all these years, so yes, we can go from 4 to 2. But because we have the issue with the wells, had those wells maybe been in the proper place, we may have seen a fall off there too. But that's their Bible, is that comprehensive site assessment. That's what they're.
And thank you, Tom, for sticking with this.
Oh, yeah.
Joyce, for being our staff historian.
Right, well, it's one of the things that is very disconcerting to me is that we're taking care of that whole property, which we shouldn't be, because he used more of it for his own stuff than in our little landfill. Now, I don't know, Tom, did you ever go to that landfill? Which you said, well, you were not here then?
did I recall using me?
Yeah,
I wasn't here.
yeah. I mean, it wasn't a very small area that was used, and it was on you came into the thing, it was on the right hand side up near where the pigs were. And it was, you know it,
I didn't use it, but I was on.
right, I mean, it was very small area. And I didn't realize because, I was off the board and then nobody was doing anything with it. That's because we did what we were supposed to do for our area. And then all of a sudden I find out, like when I'm here, that we're taking care of everything, which is wrong. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we know that, but
Unfortunately, where we are today.
I know.
And we gotta make the best of it. Again, Tom's persistence, got us a reduction.
Right.
And the investment is gonna immediately pay us back. In one cycle. Not talking about the future cycles.
Right.
So it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We made the correction. We're headed in the right direction.
I can't take full credit, it's a team effort. Pauline, the time she's been here, been involved, Jack, been involved, since she's been also.
Can you help me out with the gibbets and stuff?
The Davids, the maintenance of the property, it's a big help.
Yeah, everybody's doing it. You got knowledge to get us over the court records and stuff?
The only one thing, and kind of follow up what Joyce had mentioned about leadership. How everything kind of went.
Right.
Come back in the day.
Yeah.
Determine.
Right.
In their description of how they described they're calling the MSW, the municipal solid waste, in reference to the town amendment. They've incorporated the description as being for residential and commercial sources. one aspect I kind of, part of me thinks of a little misrepresenting is because portion of landfill that was utilized for the town of Mendon was residential trash.
Right,
There's no commercial,
absolutely not.
and the town had its agreement. And now, yes, over time, from what the board ruling was, what did actually rule where the responsibility of ownership was between the town of Mendon and it's just from a description standpoint, when I see that on paper, to me, it's a little misleading.
It's the totality of the landfill, because he was taking in commercial.
Right,
So therein lies, right, so therein lies the question of verbiage, or the presentation. When you say, when they just say the town of Mendon, they talk about residential, commercial, without any reference at all to the private landowner. It just makes it, to me, it wasn't a completely accurate description. If they had segmented it somehow to reflect how the court saw it, where the responsibility lied for where the commercial MSW was going versus the residential. But, you know, so that didn't quite, I just thought that's a little interesting.
Do you remember if anyone in town was allowed to use that?
I think, yeah, it was in town,
Okay, so
it was for
if,
the residents.
okay, so if there was a small business. And
I'm not sure of, I'm thinking that yes, if as long as they come in with their big truck and put things in.
so
Nobody came in with a big truck.
maybe that
Did that.
commercial
Right.
is, you know, kind of a loose term.
Right.
And maybe it's pertaining to a restaurant in town.
Right.
Bringing in trash in. A small business that was bringing in trash, you know, a mechanic,
Junk man,
you
you
know,
know,
so maybe that's
something we don't know.
how they're using
My
that.
understanding was it was residents.
Yes, and I think that it was very clear that, and people who had restaurants and stuff like that had their own company that would take their trash away to different places, like the guy down in, Louisville, what's his name, Marshman. That the old man, Marshman,
Yeah.
he would take the trash to different
well, I
restaurants.
two landfills in Boxer, Chestnut Street,
Right.
Street,
And they would do that,
Right.
but I'm
dumping.
damn sure that it was exactly where that was. I can go there, and walk it with you and show you where it was and know that it was not a huge, big place. Just on this side of the property going down, and it didn't come all the way down to the road. It didn't do any of that stuff.
Right.
It was there. My husband got a beautiful, vacuum cleaner that somebody threw out because they didn't realize that the cord was broken.
You go.
So I still use that vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, just, you know, when it just kind of puts everything.
Right.
No reflection at all.
Yeah, which that ticks me off, actually.
That's
Yeah.
a misrepresentation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we can't go back.
No, you can't go back.
Well, because of the judge can say, whoa, wait a minute.
Well, so what, unfortunately, when I missed the email. Missed that window of opportunity. We could have submitted. But we would have not. Just would have depended on what we could come out of discussion.
Field work.
But also, the presentation of the permit, if we had any concerns about how it's presented. Something like this, maybe we could have gone back and said, hey, we don't quite think you're giving an accurate description of the facility in terms of responsible ownership. We won't let. But would have been interesting to see what might have been that.
when we went to court, when, we went to court
Yeah.
because it had to go there. And the judge was very, very specific about, and again, I think he told me that the attorney, I was doing my story about everything there, and his attorney was consigliere, said, Judge, she's just a nurse. She doesn't know what she's talking about. And of course, back in the day, I was in charge of the Worcester, stuff. I was doing all that. And I had all these things, and they say, you have to have it written down in this book, and I was, I had it right there. And so, consigliere said, she's a nurse, she doesn't know anything about this. And the judge said to her, she sounds like she knows what she's talking about to me, and I'm going with her. That was like the end of the thing, and we won.
Good.
And he was so pissed, called me and he said, well, you think you've won? I'm closing the landfill, which I knew he was going to do that. So I had gone to, before I had gone to Karen Carty. And they were like my brothers, actually, and they said, yeah, we'll take care of you. You do that. And we had a policeman down at the end of the street with a piece of board with things saying, this is where you're going. Instead of going, they would stop to think they were going through it.
Yeah.
They couldn't. He closed closed it. Very happy to. Then from then on, I ended up having a group of people get together for a grist, and we ended up doing house to house pickup.
Nice. Very nice.
And we said,
Uh,
we did that, and thank you.
We will,
That was back in the day, sorry.
no,
Again, more of a technical, maybe a technical point. And the facts of the problem.
Yeah.
But, again, it's in writing, it's the whole city, it's a document. So I'm saying,
yeah, when I see the word commercial, I would think commercial to the level where, people are bringing trash trucks in.
That they didn't.
I think more of that is, was classified as industrial.
so, but that's open to interpretation.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying, so, but given that specifically the contract that we had, I understood it. Was for the residents of it.
Yep.
To take their trash as a resident.
Yep.
That we can build.
Yep.
That was the contractual arrangement. With town for residents.
If we do another round, we can bring it up.
We could, because then at that point, there'd be another opportunity if they want to revisit.
Mhm.
Adjusting the. Could exactly do it then.
So we need to
Just a mental load
keep that,
down the road.
keep that fresh. Just like we made the correction with the wells, we can make further corrections when the
Yeah.
opportunity comes up.
Yeah.
And see what we get.
Right.
All right. If we've exhausted that topic, let's move on to 5B. Contract with Walpole and the IMA.
All right, so the IMA is gonna be put on hold for right now. The town of Holliston has reached out to Jeremy, and Jeremy reached out to the town council. They want to add in some verbiage about the capping of the attorney's fees in the contract not to exceed $75,000. But to put it to the contract, the subcommittees talked about it, we agreed that we should have it in the contract itself. So what I'm hoping, so what we have now is gonna be revised with that stipulation to say, no municipality shall pay more than their share of the $75,000 cap, which runs out to, if they have the 35 or 30 communities, $2,500 max.
Yeah, when I looked at when I saw the rate per hour.
That's what Jeremy said too.
Myself, this kind of,
Yeah, that's 40 hours.
What?
That's 40 hours right there. The $75,000. That's $675 per hour. 40 hours.
It's the,
yeah, so even. Yeah, well, I assume that you take, what I was doing in my head was I'm making an assumption here that because you have 35 communities involved in the process. And, I don't know if I'm being correct here, if I take the 625 per hour and divide it by 35, is that accurate?
Yes.
So now the hourly rate per community becomes like 17 or 18?
Well, like we charge in a charge to Walpole. Then Walpole takes that amount and divides it among the communities.
Right, so Walpole being one of the 35.
Correct.
So they're gonna, the other 34, I mean, Walpole's gonna pay their 35th
35th.
piece.
Yeah.
But if you do that, I mean, just from a rate perspective.
Yeah.
If I took the 625 per hour.
Divided by.
My over simplifying by saying that it would come to basically $17 or $18 per community because it's divided 35 ways.
I would say that.
Is that accurate or might be too simplistic?
No, that's,
Yeah. Well, the reason I wanted to break it down like that, to say that, is that when you think about what the cost might have been us alone,
Correct?
working with our own,
oh, yeah.
lawyer, what the cost would have been for the benefit of the people hearing the discussion. You say, oh, what would have been if we went on our own?
Yeah.
Didn't participate. Cost savings is still immense.
Would be
It's great, it's wonderful. Compared to what we probably would have paid if we tried to. do
more
something.
than 10 times that.
So there you go.
well, and the fact that you have so many more eyes on what's going on, just like the town of Holliston bringing it to everyone's attention, that detail wasn't, even though it was in an email, wasn't in contract that was gonna be signed. So the benefit of all those extra eyes
Oh, sure.
paying attention, along with the dollar savings, is huge.
Everyone's all the same.
Yeah, that's.
I didn't think
The
about
devil's
that.
in the details, you know?
It's just,
You know, it was just part of our discussion is that we said that, but honestly, you know, it should be.
if we've exhausted that topic, we're gonna move on to, Board of Health admin updates, please.
Let's see here.
Purple air census.
All right, purple air census, we have all 5 censuses up and running.
Before you go too far.
Yeah.
I just want to follow up on the IMA.
I may,
I know this represents what we and theoretically final at this point.
yeah, this would have been the final if you were, it was not exceeding the $7,500 or $75,000 limit.
Right. And I know there was a reference to on the notation for the meeting, having gotten the blessing by Karis back in March.
Yes,
Had Karis, out of curiosity, seen this final?
it's now,
Kate Conley.
Kate Conley is our now town council.
Oh,
Really? Yeah.
But Kate and Karis worked together, both of us back in March. But Karis was born back in March, but Kate Conley is now in charge of Mendon.
Oh, she's gone.
Karis still working for Mendon, but not in the high capacity. But I did hear from Kate Conley today, she was the one that recommended, everything's good in here as is. But she would really happy to have not exceed language in the contract.
she was on, so our people,
Yes,
with the addition on that.
correct, yes.
I was curious.
Yeah. So again, I have all 5 censuses up for the purple, as you can see, Nisco, the town hall, Nipmuc, Providence Street, and Suffolk Zoo. So those are all finally up and running. Yeah. Household hazardous waste stuff. Go back to.
Yeah, well, I guess it's too. Great.
Household hazardous waste is coming up. Just a reminder, it's gonna be on August 29th. is gonna be at Bisco.
Ms. Hill, everybody, the change in the venue.
That's gonna be from 9 AM to 12 PM. Again, obviously, that's the document showing date as well.
So maybe I, love you will be there.
On vacation.
Not a vacation, but you're available for that too.
Yeah, Jack and I, we got it down to the
That's
science.
central right.
That,
Jack and I, we got it down to the science.
no, I know, but still, I've always liked to ask to be around, see all the residents, students, and all that stuff. Plus, this particular year, I had a ton of shredding stuff, and I was able to bring down. Here. So it's just a great guy, I still,
We're gonna take it up with it.
excuse what else. Yeah, maybe I'll do that.
Yeah, we're gonna be there.
And the last update I have is the Blue Shot Clinic. Yep, it's that time of year again, it has been scheduled. We're looking at Wednesday, September 30th, from 4 PM to 6 PM. Again, this will be at the Visco Buildings.
Have that again.
Wednesday, September 30th, 4 PM to 6 PM, Visco.
Now, will we also be doing one of the scenes?
Senior Center does their own, they do a different vendor.
So what?
Yeah.
Did they do that much?
The seniors?
Senior, yeah, they, last year.
They have the vendor last year too. Yeah. Because this vendor does the high dose, where we have the BNA clinic that doesn't do the high dose. So that is all I have for updates.
Fantastic. All right, moving on, health agent updates, please, Colleen.
We did the 250th, that was, very successful. Food trucks were, most of the food trucks that we went down to the site earlier in the afternoon and waited for the food trucks to arrive and place them. Two of them I hadn't inspected and hadn't seen for a little while, so we did that, set them up, everything was fine, we knocked it out of the hitch. The pie eating contest, apparently we knocked it out of the hitch, we gave them one of the, spotted fluid bags in case anyone got sick. The pies were, purchased at retail and only consumed by the people in the pie.
Really, it's.
And how do they?
Yeah, tabletops.
Yeah. So that was a success, and I was happy to be a part of it.
Then the second, and up and down there.
It was, I'll tell you, it like, everything went fast. I mean, even the Horribles parade. Next thing you know, here were the little kids, they had them walk down instead of coming from on the road, they had them stay inside. So they came down the dirt path where all the food trucks were, which was kind of nice because people could see them and stuff. And they put them up on the field, by the boom, they went that way, they did the judging, blah, blah, and then the contest went off. I didn't see that. I wasn't there for that. I was there, but I wasn't there watching that.
Did fire trucks participate? Is it just the kids?
Just the kids.
And the parents?
Yeah, they walked down that little dirt path. I mean, some of the crossroads were right. Oh my God. Yeah. A couple of them were like states for the 250th. I saw Massachusetts, I saw Vermont. Yeah,
That's a cool idea.
Yeah. it was really, really a cool idea. So it was great, to be a part of it, to help them plan. Suggested moving forward when they do something like that, to let the board know so that we can put our input in and make the that much more successful. But it was great to work with Mrs. Lamont, very easy to work with the food vendors. I know the majority of them now. So they helped out a lot too. So, and then just been really busy. This has been a very busy summer, very, very busy summer. We have quite a few state sanitary code violation cases that I'm working through. We had a couple of medical cases that I'm working through. We are fortunate that we're part of the partnership and that we have the social workers generally now Sheila. So been working with them. And had a call today. I was out on site with the fire department, police department, the animal control officer. So I'm going to be breaking that report tomorrow morning, following up with that with Jenna and Sheila. They're both thrilled to work with.
Yeah.
So just vetting through those cases and, other than that, I mean, it's one of the busiest ones. We were just talking about this today, just how busy it was. So the good, and I had a good conversation with the fire chief today, so, we're gonna be working together on this as well. Throughout the town, a conversation, just different safety inspections, and the chief is really interested in. So we're not what how to do the system, and kind of similar approach that I have in the other community that I work in. Chief. So we had a long conversation while we were waiting for things to clear out at the site.
Any questions? All good, all right. Topics not anticipated within 48 hours. Right. Good welfare for the board. Okay.
Well, just one, that we all kind of have now back and just wanted to recognize that we did get a nice little thank you note from our.
Oh, yeah, I saw that, yeah.
It was very nice. Those that weren't aware that Board of Health awarded Tyler Lowell, right, the scholarship this year. And his note was very nice. It said to the Managing Board of Health, thank you so much for considering and deciding to have me be the recipient of this year's scholarship. Your kind words and motivation along the award means a lot and will not go unnoticed.
I thought that was very, an excellent thing. I was so, I mean, I thought that kid's best in the beginning. And, you know, he worked so hard and all the things that he had done and all that was really so good. And there he is coming back with thank you, which is bravo. Yeah.
A couple things I had, of course, just an update with our virus surveillance report. Things are all going very well. Jack actually put up on the screen for those viewing or those that might view and get an idea where the numbers are. All very positive. To the core of the numbers, basically, it's there have been no human West Nile virus cases, right? And no human triple E cases. And you'd appreciate this, Alan, the West. Mammoth specimens tested, there's only a couple. No West Nile positive equines, that was 0. Same for triple E, 0. It's been a very good year.
Yeah, I think I saw my first mosquito. Yes. Very, very happy. Yesterday was the same morning on the deck. That was the first time I saw a mosquito. It was a lot of bees.
Yeah, a lot of these, yeah,
Which is good.
yeah.
You know what I'm seeing a lot of this year? Spiders. Spiders. What's interesting?
Very good with wet.
Well, it's been kind of, the overall, we're having kind of dry side.
Well, we were, and then
We get,
plenty of rain.
it's still, that kind of goes to the next thing that Jack's gonna put up. We got that email from the Energy and Environmental Affairs Executive Office with the state, just basically kind of warning us of what the drought conditions are, and kind of see where we are based on the map. So Jack, you accepted my challenge on the 10th. What did you decide to do?
Well, we're region 2, so out of the 60 communities in region 2, Mendon is right there.
Oh, look at that, look at that. Nice job. Wow. I asked him to be creative with the pin to highlight what Mendon was. He goes, challenge accepted.
That's
Very
good.
nice.
Good
What
job.
level are we right now?
We're level 2.
We're 2. So it's like, what, four levels? 5, 0 to
So it's significant growth level 2.
we're considered, still considered significant.
Yeah, I find that hard to believe. What?
But you can see there's a very good improvement on the far western side.
Yeah.
They're at 0, normal. And a bit of an improvement in the southeast area. The Cape actually, interesting enough, they're still very, same level we are.
Yeah,
It's 5 days of rain.
yeah.
So you helped.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they noted in the verbiage, in the email, it takes a lot, one thing to get the rainfall, but it takes a lot to replenish the groundwater.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's a key element.
We need that steady, soft rain for it to be, instead of like the downpours that we're having that on off.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, unfortunately, when you first experience the drought and the plants that are growing in the soil stop growing, the soil gets hot.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no root movement. So the soil gets hot, you end up with more runoff. It actually replenishes the groundwater. So this was improved.
Thank you, Jack.
Anything else? All right, let's set the next meeting.
Oh, yeah, so unless something really emergency needs to pop up, we have still scheduled August 26th. But if nothing, our first meeting in September will be September 9th,
Okay.
7 p.m. Again, just a reminder, August 26th is still available for us if you need to have a meeting.
Nice.
Right, September already.
And I have a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Motion.
I'll make that motion to adjourn the meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who's that?
Alan, aye. Thank you very much.
Good night, everybody.